Good morning, Predicted Trades family. Hope everybody's doing well. Gonna get into some prep here real quick. Morning, Star. Morning, Bob. So we had our FOMC yesterday. Let me pull up the economic calendar real quick. So we had our FOMC yesterday. Today we have jobless claims here in a few minutes. Some foreign trade balance. We have some Fed speakers later today. And then tomorrow, NFP, non-farm payroll, some unemployment rate, hourly earnings, yada yada. So we do have a couple of things coming out today and tomorrow that could have some impact. We'll see that here shortly. Wouldn't be surprised on the jobless data that's coming out if it sends us down, since we are so close to these squeeze tops and the daily 21. But sometimes, we're already on a trajectory and the economic data does not really affect us too much. So, just real quick. Let's see if we can't smooth that out just a hair. Not like that. Ooh. Yeah, like that. Okay. Sorry. You know how I like my trend lines. So basically, we had our FOMC yesterday. We kind of started a nice rally, or at least started an upward trajectory. FOMC gave a quick pullback, but basically held this trend line from pre-market lows and some of the lows on the day. Took right off, up to squeeze top, nailed the 21. We had that end of day profit taking, right back into our key zone from this 38.43, 38.55, right? We went down and slapped the bottom and closed right in the middle. Overnight, we went back to the daily 8. Now we're back at the 21, bouncing between major liquidity on these daily moving averages. And today, you'll notice that they make quite a range to play. The daily 15 has caught up to this 38.07. The daily the daily 8 pretty much at this 38.40. The daily 21 right up at yesterday's highs and pre-market highs. We still have our squeezes intact. All of the lower time frame squeezes are intact on ES. And you'll notice that the 2 hour and below are all in a bullish orientation. That's why we get the blue shading over in our watch list columns. Available in the professor's tool belt. Our higher time frame squeezes, still a little bearish, but obviously we've had a reversion to the mean, a reversion from lows back to the daily 21. So, scenarios for today. We still have our squeezes intact. They are starting to open up a little bit, but we'd still need to keep pushing against them to get them to open and fire to the upside. If we can get over this daily 21 and hold it for support, 38.80 is going to be key, and 3900 obviously key as well. It looks like technically from about where we closed, we could get up to these recent highs today on a full ATR if we were to go up and fire these squeezes to the upside. And I know that some folks might be saying, well, there's not a lot of bullish, we're in a bear market, and there's not a lot of bullish sentiment going around. There doesn't really need to be. You know, it's not for us to determine the sentiment of the market and where it's going from what we think. It's up to us to just read and react. So that's why we have our levels, our squeezes, our trend lines, and all of that. So if we can hold this zone and get above the daily 21, start pushing into these squeeze clouds, fire up, key levels, 3880, 3900. Once we get through that, it can be some smooth sailing, but we have to get through these squeeze tops and get them to fire. As you can see, we can run into them and keep running into them, and they open and open, but they're still points of rejection. So let's see for today. We do have a 30-minute squeeze, the bottom of which is right back at that 3843 key level. We could run into this daily 21, this squeeze top yesterday's highs. We could take a turnaround from there just to come back and test these levels and trend lines. If we start to break trend lines and key levels, we'll get a cascading effect, right? At any point, a squeeze or a key level could be a bounce point. So let's see. If during the cash session ES tries to get going, can't get through, takes a little break to come back to key levels and the daily 8. As long as we can hold the daily 8, and as you can see, our larger time frame trend line, which you can see I kind of have a few that act like a fan. As long as we can hold this trend line coming in, and I might have to go to a larger time frame just to see where that started. And toss once again, kind of obscuring these trend lines. It looks a little different now, obviously. Overall, as long as we can hold that daily 8, this 3843, I'm just going to go back down and just kind of ignore that trend line for now because it's coming in at a different spot. But ultimately, as long as we can hold the daily 8, this 3840, 3843 zone, we're going to be looking to play to the upside to try to get through the daily 21 and mission 3900. Once we start to lose this zone, we could very easily roll back over to 3807 in the bottom of this 2-hour squeeze, I'm assuming. Yep. 2-hour squeeze sitting at that 3807. 4-hour squeeze sitting down at that 3773. Last month's POC. This month's POC is kind of establishing itself around 3828, 3830, where we had all this interaction in the last couple of days. So there's also that 1-hour squeeze there. So let's see if 30-minute squeeze in this zone can hold us and cause a bounce, or if we start to slip it, fall back to POC, 1-hour squeeze, and the 2-hour squeeze, daily 15, 3807. It's nice how these things all start to align together on any given day. So, levels to play and squeezes to play upside and down. In Q, already above its daily 21. We've got a psychological 12,000 that we are knocking on the door of right now. I mean, we're getting close. So let's see if we can get through yesterday's high. We'll be tapping and testing 12,000. Above that, 12,100, a very key level. And the daily 50, pulling down to 12,200, along with the first Keltner up. So if tech is going to continue to run, potentially on the back of Google, who only has, 7 days left? 7 trading days left? Until the split, so let's see if tech wants to try to keep leading to the upside to get back to the daily 50 and recent highs before the next potential sell-off, right? Sometimes we have to go higher to go lower. So on NQ, and I'm sorry, just for trend line's sake, I'm going to take a quick look over at the 1 hour. So I had this pair of trend lines from the low of year and what got us going back to the mean, right? We slipped below it for a day or two, or 3 or 4, but now we have popped back up above it. So if we start to lose it again, you can guess we're probably going to fall back to the trend line that allowed us to get going back above it. That's why I like to draw kind of multiples. Kind of get your first warning, second warning, where you should kind of already be short to get down to the next. So those are coming through today and pretty much intersecting the daily 21, daily 8. So if NQ gets hung up at 12,000 and squeeze tops, could be coming back to test the 21, first trend line, the daily 8, second trend line, squeeze bottoms. But I'd say these these squeezes are definitely getting thinner, starting to open up. We did already fire a 4 hour up. Notice the 4 hour is not intact anymore. And, we had we then had a 30-minute and 1 hour start to set in. So anyway, we've got squeeze tops, squeeze bottoms, and daily key moving averages. Let's see if we can get through 12,000 and get up to that daily 50. It can happen today. And it would be a great spot for the next sell-off to settle and go back down if that's what we're going to do for this bear market we find ourselves in. But some great levels and great squeezes to play today. And of course, they come and start lining up with key levels, key things. That daily 15, back down at our 11,677. So levels up and down, good to go. Ready? The squeezes are getting tighter and tighter and stacked right around all these daily moving averages. So let's see if small caps and want to run with tech. If they can hold this trend line, get up to the 21 and start to push through. If they reject, start to lose this trend line and roll back to the 8 or 15. It could be an early indication of the other indices doing the same. With the Ruddy, since they're so tight together, she can start to kind of undulate and react first. So let's see, pin between the daily 15, daily 21. Let's see if she starts to get going to the upside or lose to the downside. YM. Kind of looking the same as the Ruddy. Pin between the 21 and the daily 15 and 8. You can see when we look at the trend lines here versus over on NQ, NQ's already back above trend lines and trying to get going. YM's lagging. But we do have finance starting to report next week, so we could start to maybe see some more upward movement and rotation leading into that. Let's see if YM can at least get through the daily 21 today and start to push into these cloud tops, or if it continues to reject and roll back to the daily 8, that 31,000. As long as we can hold that 31,000 and keep bouncing, she could get a good move up through this week's highs through the daily 21 and start to look a little better. Once she starts losing the daily 8, market's probably all rolling back. Apple. You can see sometimes why I leave these trend lines, because when we start to get back to them, they can still be tested and hold true even from below or above. So Apple, pretty good relative strength on a nice trajectory. Definitely worth connecting some of these for a, yeah, let's see. Come on. There we go. So there's a little trend line that gets us that 140, which is where the daily 21 and 8 will be sitting. So that is where we have support. If we can't get going to the upside and we keep rejecting 144 or the daily 50 on Apple, we could start to roll back to those moving averages and that trend line. But definitely we have some relative strength in Apple. She was very strong yesterday. Took off from 140 straight up almost to 144. Came back and then did the journey all over again and tapped 144 before market came back end of day. So let's see if Apple can remain strong and get up above 144, 144.40 in a bid to get back to the daily 50, which is slowly making its way down to 145. If we can't hold 142, which definitely became good support yesterday, if we start to lose 142, we can easily roll back to that 140, where the daily 21 and 8 are. AMD. Again, you know, chips not the strongest, especially after MU earnings. And they might take a break on rotating into chips. I mean, yeah, I've talked about it yesterday, and I think the day before, that chips are kind of broken. They're not rotating into them right now. They probably need some catalysts, or at least to get through finance. Earnings, because then chips are next, and they can have their run up into earnings. So not a huge interest on AMD. Basically sitting at second Keltner. Let's see if it can get going through squeeze tops back to the daily 8 at least. Or if it slips back and just kind of chops around the second Keltner there. Amazon. Definitely has some relative strength. Got up above the daily 21. Sat there yesterday. Kind of tapped it almost on the morning dip, but then good relative strength, got through 115 yesterday. Pretty close to that as well, and that daily 50 coming in. Let's see if that daily 50 is going to continue to provide resistance at this squeeze top on Amazon and send it back down to squeeze bottom, daily 21 and 8. Which will likely be right at that squeeze bottom. So we have the daily 50 above, the daily 21 and 8 below. For Amazon, can chop between them. If it can get above the 50, turn it into support and start pushing, can keep going. And we have this 2-day squeeze up above. That would be my target if she's going to start or continue this rally and fire all these squeezes to the upside. We'd have to get through daily 50, get through 2 Keltners to get to that 2-day squeeze top. BA, I've said it for like a week now, BA just has to hold the daily moving averages. And it's continued to do that. Once it starts to lose them and fire some of these squeezes to the downside, market's going to be rolling back over and probably starting the next sell-off. We do have support on BA around this 130, 132. Should we start to reach into the bottom of these squeezes? Need buyers to step in there just to keep us at these daily moving averages, but they're all coming down to a very tight zone. Basically, just all crossing and going to be at the same point. So, decision is coming. When does BA report? End of next month. So, I'm sorry, end of this month. Well, let's see if BA can get moving off these moving averages, start moving to the upside, clear 140, 142. Maybe we see some YM moving up above and firing some squeezes to the upside. Cat, nice gap up after being weak. Is there any news or anything? No, not to know of, but Cat, let's see if it can get going above the daily 8. Might start to look at playing it to the upside, but as long as it stays that below that daily 8, probably going to leave it be for now. Google. So, Google got down to our key zone. Tuesday being the start of the last 2 weeks before she splits. Very strong and continued to be strong. Made it above 2,300 yesterday. Looks like we're going to be opening pretty much at 2,300. If market rolls back on a number of names to test squeeze bottom, Google could slip back down to this daily 50 where it settled yesterday before it gets going again. To the upside, if market can keep moving up, Google has the next Keltner up at 2330, and these squeeze tops up, starting up at 2400. And we only have, what I say, like 7 days left. Yep. These two, and one more week, and she splits on the 15. So, let's see what we get with Google. GS. As you can see, little wedge that has formed. So we're kind of at a decision point on GS. They report, it's not next week, it's the week after. GS reporting this week. I believe JPM and some others report this week. So let's see, since we're starting to potentially look like we're going to open outside of this wedge, let's see if GS can get going to the upside, clear this daily 8 and 21 to get back north of 300 and get back to the daily 50, which is about to be at 305 with these squeeze tops. If she falls back and loses this support, squeeze bottom. The next stop would be the Keltner and this 275 zone. But as long as she can stay north of 290, can likely start the journey to the upside into earnings. JPM. Kind of the same, getting through some resistance, ascending wedge. Let's see if they want to rotate into finance today and push them over the, officially over the you know, breaking resistance from highs. So yeah, we could see some nice rotation into finance today, possible. And they report next week. Meta continuing to move up with Google. XLC getting rotation and love back to the daily 21. If it's going to continue the upside, you know, 175, 180, and daily 50 up at 185. Could easily slip back to the daily 8 and 15, back at 165, 163. Microsoft. Oh, look at Microsoft. Pushed off of the daily 21, got back to the daily 50, and this first Keltner up. Looks like it's going to be opening above the daily 50, so let's see if it takes a little dip and can hold, can keep pushing to the upside through these recent highs. Kind of have them stacked here at 270, 273. If they can clear, if Microsoft can clear those, we've got, I'm assuming, a 2-day squeeze right up at 278, 280. If we start to lose the daily 50, we likely come back to the daily 8 and 21, back at 260. Netflix. Back at the daily 21, we have the 50 above, the 8 and 15 below. All those moving averages coming together into a tight zone. Netflix could just chop here for a minute. When do they report? The 19th, so in a couple of weeks. Yeah, if Netflix can get going above the daily 50, she could actually start a nice little rally into her earnings in a couple of weeks. She's been known to rally into earnings, but not always, so. This psychological 200 and 190, you know, with some resistance. But if we can get through those, you know, make that journey up. NVIDIA. Looking a little better than AMD, already back to the daily 8. If it can get through that and turn it to support, it could easily move back to the daily 21 in a day. From 150 to like 162, 165. QQQ. Back above the daily 21, much like in Q. Squeeze bottoms going to be right at the daily 21, most likely back at this 287, 288. So let's see if she wants to take a quick dip before heading higher. If she can keep going through yesterday's highs at 291, could be a quick pop up to 295. And that daily 50, which is coming in at 297. Could get there today. If we start to lose the 21, could roll back to 285 and squeeze bottom there. If that gives out, it's back to this zone below. Roku. Much like Netflix, back at all liquidity. So let's see if it just wants to chop around liquidity, but if it can get above the daily 90 and yesterday's high, can keep trucking. I don't really like how it fell and just sat, though, yesterday while things were rallying. Means they weren't rotating into it as much as other things, so likely just going to chop around those MAs. Ooh, shop. Yeah, I'm going to leave this alone for a while. No, still some relative strength up at second Keltner. But also at this 2-day squeeze top, so see how this squeeze goes, this 30-minute. If it starts to push through the upside of that, you can get to this 2-day top, 165. But looking like she might need a break to come back to daily moving averages. So if 152 starts to give out, could be back at 145 quickly. SPX, it's that same gap, got filled. We reached into it a little bit yesterday and got going to the upside with virtually no gap. Today we're dealing with a little gap up. Let's see if SPX can get above the daily 21, start to fire this 1 hour squeeze. Oh, no, 2 hour. Start to fire this 2 hour squeeze to the upside has to clear 38.75. And if we get through 3900, we've got these recent highs at 39.36, 39.28. So that'd be the zone to the upside. But if we can't get through squeeze top 38.75, can roll back to the daily 8, 38.30, and the daily 15 at 37.95. SPY. Yep, pretty similar, but I'll say these squeezes are starting to open up to the upside and get nice and thin, which makes them easier to get through. So let's see if SPY can quickly just get above the daily 21 and keep trucking. Yeah, that zone got filled. It's an old gap fill zone, but it's been filled. But there could be some resistance still at that 386, 387. If we reject squeeze tops, we fall back 382, where the daily 8 is coming up. If we lose that, cascade down to 380. Squeeze bottoms, where the daily 15 was likely coming up. Tesla. Kind of a mute day yesterday. It just slowly faded down to 681 key level, then bounced back through 690 up to 700, where it met some resistance. Looks like we'll be opening up above 700. Still have some squeeze tops to deal with. 718 key level above 744, where the daily 50 has slowly caught up to. Up at this daily squeeze top as well. So if Tesla can get going and start to push through 710, can fire these squeezes to the upside to get back to these key levels. If that squeeze proves to be too much resistance, she'll fall back 690, 681. If 681 gives out those squeeze bottoms, she'll fall right back to these key levels where the next squeeze is set. So as you can see, the moving averages and squeezes starting to align well with all of our key levels. Finally, VIX. Below 27, squeezes opening up to the downside. VIX could very easily get back to 25, 24.5. And that daily 200 has stepped up above our 23.33. So, VIX losing its daily moving averages can get down to that daily 200, which it has not seen in a long time. That would mean the indices are firing to the upside and getting back to their daily 50s. So VIX today, let's see if it can get down to this squeeze bottom at 26. If it can give out 26, we could see 25, 24.5 today. But if it continues to hold 26, get back above 27, we're likely going to see the market roll over and VIX get back to these daily moving averages, which are sitting each of them at a key level. The daily 8 right near our 27.5, the daily 21 right at 28, and the daily 50 back up at 28.8. So let's see if VIX, which is already starting to give out these recent lows, can just keep on giving out. Yeah, that'd be nice. You can see, last time it was at this 24.5, it did a very quick move right up to 29. So if these lows can continue to give out and VIX get below, let's see, 26.5 and push down through 26, it could accelerate quickly to engulf these candles, which accelerated up so quickly. Let's see. Would love to see VIX get down here. But got to get through 26 first. That's it for today. Hopefully everyone finds this helpful. We'll see it in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. And good luck today.